then the vulnerability is such a powerful thing. And I see it here in Vietnam, especially, or in Asia, we can say, that it's still hard for leaders or managers to show vulnerability. But those who do, wow, it's a very powerful tool to help them connect and build trust.
Welcome back to Unlock Potential with David Archibald. I'm so glad you're here, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to tune in. Before I dive into today's episode, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any of the incredible conversations we're having with inspiring leaders. Now, today I'm joined by someone who has spent years working with teams across various industries, helping them unlock their full potential and achieve remarkable success. Now, she's an expert in leadership, team building, and helping people take their leadership skills to the next level. She's also author of the powerful Leadership, How to Build Dream Teams book, a book packed with invaluable lessons for anyone looking to grow as a leader and build strong, high-performing teams. You've probably heard her work or seen her maybe somewhere on LinkedIn or something, sharing insights across different platforms, but today you're going to hear directly from her about her journey, the lessons she's learned, and how you can apply them in your own life. Please stay tuned as we dive into some powerful leadership strategies with my guest, Loan Tran. Thank you, Loan, for coming in today.
Thank you, David, for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, I'm very happy you're here. I'm very happy I had the opportunity to read your book. And I want to talk a little bit about your book today because I think it's really, really important, especially on how we can unlock potential in other people. And before we get into that, really, how did you end up in Vietnam, where I'm at? How did you end up here?
Well, the long or the short version or the middle one?
Middle one works.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm Vietnamese, 100%. My parents are both refugees and left Vietnam many years ago, in 85 actually, to be precise. And then I spent 27 years in Denmark, where I grew up. And after that, I actually wanted to go back to Vietnam to get some international work experience and learn about my roots, the culture, the language. So I had an opportunity. I signed a 2-year contract with a Danish company. And so the plan was to be here for 2 years and then go back to Denmark. And now I'm still here on my 12th year. So I'm very happy, and I, of course, love to be here and work here in Vietnam.
Yeah,
that's how
awesome.
I ended up here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think everybody says, oh, we'll try it for a year or so.
Yeah.
And then they're hooked. Yeah, it is pretty amazing. That's awesome. So, how did you get into the leadership game? So give me some background on yourself and how you were working in these different cities across the world here, and then you ended up here.
Yeah, as I remember, I actually think I applied for a volunteer job to begin with. But then I was offered this project manager position, and I was like, I have no idea what is about being a project manager, or no experience, never been a leader before, or a manager. So totally 27 years old, I studied business economics and auditing. So obviously I was like, well, that's not very much related to what I was, studying. But okay, why not? Let me try. And so that was the first actually leadership role I started. And then after a few years, I was promoted, and it was a slightly different leadership role, but still leading people and teams. And then another role, and then another role, but all different managerial roles. So that's how I found and discovered, like, I really love this leading teams, building teams, working with people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, was there a mentor or somebody that really shaped you? Because I know that everything I've learned from somebody else. Yeah. Okay, like I'm not, coming up with new things as much as I'm just paying attention. So was there someone that really influenced you and to get you where you are today?
Oh, I still have until this day many mentors. I don't talk to them every day, but once in a while they would check in and say, hey, how is it going? But definitely I have had and still have many mentors today that I still reach out to, and then they check in sometime. And there is one I want to share about who is really like been a big influence in my life. So he's based in Denmark, actually the one who also encouraged me to write my book. And at that time, I was a general manager at that time. And he's like, Loan, I see you post every single day, and you post pretty practical tips and advice. And I believe young managers or leaders can benefit from your experience. So why don't you write a book? And I was like, who am I to write a book? He said, oh, but don't think about becoming a millionaire by writing a book, but do it as a challenge and to give back and give, add value to people. And I was like, okay, well, then I'm gonna take on this challenge, right? So I did it, but actually it's just like a few pages, right? But it took me 2 years actually to write the book because I was like, what should I write about? And luckily, because I had this habit of journaling, I did journaling every single day after I finished my working day, reflecting about what went well today and which mistakes did I do, how should I improve myself or do better or do differently. So it actually turned out like 7 notebooks of journaling I put together, and I took out like practical things I think, oh, this might be useful for other leaders. So this is actually how it was born.
Oh, that's nice. Do you want to name that mentor? You want to name him?
His name is Alfred, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he wrote, before I wrote my book, I read 4 of his leadership books.
Oh, okay.
And they were all like my favorites. I felt really inspired. So I learned a lot from reading his books, but not only his books, so many, I think, probably all the bestsellers on leadership. I always I need to read it because I want to know everything about leadership and be the best leader I can be for my own teams.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, you talk a lot about teams in your book. And, one of the things that I noticed was you talk about the importance of team culture. Okay. And now, what are some non-negotiable traits with team culture?
Yeah, good question. Non-negotiable trait, top of mind for me is toxic behavior. Yeah, that's just at least for me in my experience, when I have seen or come across someone, it may be a blind spot that they have. I always say there are no bad leaders, but there are unhelpful behaviors that will hold you back from achieving or being the leader you want to be or being an effective leader. So very often when we are stressed or we are in situations where we deal with a lot of pressures, sometimes some behavior, like unwanted behavior comes out, and it affects the team, the people around you very negatively. And it's like poison.
Okay.
Right. And that's definitely a non-negotiable for me. But I also see it in many other teams. Yeah.
Now, I know that people hire you to come in and help with leadership and build better performing teams. So on that part, are these leaders doing things and they don't know it's there? Like this blind spot and what is toxic, they just don't see it? And if so, give me an example of that.
Oh, yeah. An example. This is very common. And I was actually thinking about writing a post about it earlier today. So we have great leaders with great intentions. And there can be many reasons why they have this behavior. One is simply like they're acting out of fear because they're a little bit insecure. So somehow that influences their behavior, so they might not show their best self, right? When they are insecure, then they, for example, they try to be perfect or say the right thing, but they are not really authentic, right? Or sometimes this insecurity can also lead to some kind of micromanagement or, so this is one example. Or they might think, oh, well, I've said all the the right things, why are they not following? Why are they not? And sometimes this is one of the things that show that they don't trust their team members. And it's very easy for their team members to pick up, he doesn't trust me or she doesn't trust me, right? And this is one of the things that as a leader, you won't be able to unlock their full potential as long as they have a feeling that I'm not fully trusted. So they feel I'm not empowered and I can't do what I think I can do because I might be punished or something like that, right? Or they might not like it because sometimes our behavior, we don't really see it, so we call them blind spots, right? But it's so often, and luckily because they gave me permission to show them, this is a blind spot, or are you aware of this? Because it actually makes the team feel this way. And very often they are not aware.
Yeah, no doubt. I guess that's the value that you can bring into an organization and to a leader is to expose those blind spots. We all have them, when we don't want them, but we know that maybe the way we act and the way things we say can micromanage somebody into
even with the best intentions, right? Yeah.
Into an underperformer, it seems. Okay, now you emphasize in your book that the foundation of great leadership is how leaders can rebuild trust if it's been broken. Elaborate on that.
Rebuild is about rebuilding trust, right? You want me to elaborate on? Yeah. So the case I talk about in the book is an example of now there is a new manager or leader in charge of the team or leading the team, but they have had experiences in the past, not the best experiences, so there is a lack of trust. And now this new leader or manager that comes in to actually, okay, now I'm responsible for building my team. So the trust is the foundation, right? We need to build it. And there's a lot of things that they can do, for example, to build the trust. But first of all, they need to understand, it would be helpful for them to understand why are they so skeptical? Or why do they question everything, right? And then, of course, the more they spend time together and have meaningful conversations, the more they can uncover, like, okay, now I understand. So if, of course, they successfully and effectively get their teams to open up about it, like, what is this about? What are you afraid of? Or why is this, how, and of course, all these W questions, right? They can actually slowly get them to open up and understand the root cause. And then from there, of course, put in more like effort in communication to be more bold and transparent about what they want as a leader to achieve. Why am I here? What are the motives? And how I'm actually my intention to bring value to you as a team, to our company. And I think these are like simple steps, but not everyone does it, right? To gain the trust. And it's basically communication, like intention, communication, transparency, and connection. But also understanding the past, what has led to this mistrust or distrust, what do you call it? Yeah.
Now, I noticed from your content that you post that you have a lot of younger people that it seems like that you're teaching, at least what I see. And I think that people are hiring you to come in and help their young leaders. Have you found on communication, is there a different way to kind of communicate with the younger generation, the new workforce that's in the Gen Z? Is there something that someone should know, that we should ask questions differently or maybe communicate in a different way?
I was gonna say a different way. I think it depends on the person you talk to, because you can find people, team members who belong to Gen X or Gen Y, like similar behavior, in Gen Z, right?
Sure.
So it's hard to say, oh, you should talk like this to Gen Z. So sometimes I would say, when people ask me that question, hey, Lon, we need some advice. How should we talk to our older employees versus our very young ones? And of course, there are a few things that you want to be mindful of, but also it can also be dangerous just to assume all the Gen Z would think like this, because I've made many mistakes actually just assuming, oh, they're all the same. So I'm gonna, just ask them open question and get their buy-in and engage them. And so it very much depends on their behavior.
So you got to be a good listener first.
Yeah, and I would say when talking about this, I personally recommend now also, as I'm gonna be a certified disc flow facilitator very soon, and it's a super powerful tool actually that helps people understand their main behavior. So that one is more helpful because you take the test and then you can see, oh, I have more of this kind of trait, right? So we have the dominance, the influencer, the compliance people, and the supporters people, and they have certain behavior that are stronger, and all of them, there are no right, no wrong ones, no best ones or worst ones, all with a certain sets of strengths and weaknesses. So you can tailor the way that you talk to each of these groups.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But usually they are a mix of a few, but they are dominant, of course, in one group. Yeah,
I get that. I've been a long time since I've done mine.
Yeah.
I got to revisit that again someday. What's the most underrated communication skill a leader needs?
One most underrated communication, active listening skill and vulnerability. What I see, unfortunately, again and again, it's not because they're bad leaders. It's just because lack of awareness sometimes, and habit that's built on over many years. And then maybe on top of that, all the pressure, the stress and everything, that they have so many opportunity and times where they sit down with their employee or employees, and then they communicate something really important. But then after that, they are so in their own mind and already onto the next one, right? The next point. And then they lose that, hey, you forgot to listen to the feedback you just asked for. You are even not there anymore. You already checked out, right? And on to the next thing. So this is where we lose the connection. And unfortunately, that in many cases make the employees feel I'm not important enough. Like he just asked for my opinion, but he's not even listening. So that is one common, I see, mistake many leaders do, or habit, unhelpful one. Then the vulnerability is such a powerful thing. And I see it here in Vietnam, especially, or in Asia, we can say, that it's still hard for leaders or managers to show vulnerability. But those who do, wow, it's a very powerful tool to help them connect and build trust. They're very scared of showing their weaknesses or admitting something, that is not the best for the employees. So, but once they do it, they gain so much trust, right, instantly, and it's so helpful.
Wow, that's good. That's something I need to work on a little more with active listening. I find myself doing that same thing. Just move on to the next thing and not take the time to reflect what was been told. That's really great. That's good stuff. Now, for somebody that's watching today or listening today, and they're going to be a brand new leader. Okay, let's say they've been in the team and now they're going to be team supervisor. What kind of advice would you give them they just got their first leadership role?
How many advice you want?
Yeah, just give me something that you would tell brand new leader.
Three things top of mind now that you just asked me. One is that don't expect you're going to be perfect in everything that you do. You're going to fail, you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. But you're going to be better. So they need to trust that. They need to know that upfront. This is something that it's very important, I think, that they know from my leader that, okay, I'm trying to strive for perfection and do everything correctly. But of course, it's totally new for you to be a supervisor, and you're gonna make mistakes, and it's okay. You're gonna learn and grow. Number 2, the first one was about, you're not gonna be perfect. Number 2 is communication, right? Leaders, managers, no one can be like a mind reader. So I think it's also important that they know upfront that come to me. I'm not a mind reader. So please, even though you think that I know you really well and I should know everything about you, what you think, what you're happy about, what you're disappointed about, I would not always know. So come to me. So just inviting them and often remind them about that. I think that's number 2. That's important. I did all of these mistakes before, not asking regularly enough, or not reminding them, or not making it clearly enough for them. And then I think number 3, I just forgot. Maybe it will come back later. Yeah.
So how have mistakes or failures shaped you in your leadership journey now?
I'm a kind of person who dwells a lot on my mistakes, and I'm just kind of this is so bad. And I can sometimes just for days or weeks just thinking about that stupid mistake that I did. Why am I not better than that? But of course, I have these conversations with myself, and reflection is a powerful tool I use to, okay, let's just have the bigger picture now. What actually did you do well? Because I think as leaders, managers, everyone wants to aim for better and perfection and have higher standards. But those who really harden themselves, it can be a really unhelpful thing to do, right? Because then you lose your motivation, you lose your confidence, and that's not gonna help you to lead your team if you don't have the confidence and a strong conviction that you're gonna make it. And of course, no one is perfect. So remind yourself how you're constantly developing and improving. At the same time, as you are expanding your comfort zone, you're trying new things, you're gonna fail, but you move on really fast, and those valuable experiences will shape who you are, and the team can benefit from your experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome. Reflection is something a lot of people don't have. I mean, they don't take the time to say, how'd I make this problem and how can I fix it? And you're the opposite. You spend too much time on it.
I spend a lot of time. I'm a very reflective person.
Yeah.
I don't like to talk too much. I'm very much in my own head very often.
Right on. If someone only had 5 minutes to read your book and they opened it up, what's the story that you'd want them to read?
5 minutes to... I would say then it would be the page where I really wish leaders, new managers, to remember, why did I go into leadership? Because often those leaders, managers will realize, oh my God, this is stressful. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of responsibilities. And dealing with people, wow, it's complicated. But remember, it's also a privilege. Once we are leaders, we are managers, we have been given this responsibility and the privilege to shape and influence so many people's life. So you can make it really bad and you can create a very positive environment for them to really thrive. And once they do, they become better versions of themselves. They bring something back to their families, this positive energy, this confidence, this worth, all of this. So I think leadership is not just a title. It's not just something that you do in your office. It's something that benefits your families, the people you surround yourself, and the whole community, and the whole world, actually, yes. Right? So it sounds really romantic, but I think if we do leadership right, the world will be a really, really beautiful place. Yeah.
I think that you become a leader and then you realize that it's not about you anymore at all. It's about other people, and literally everything is about others. I think for me, that's why sometimes my best sales guy don't make the good sales manager. They're very focused on themselves and not others. So that's powerful. I like that a lot. I think that for younger people that are just now that you're seeing in your day-to-day coaching, what are some things that in general that they need to change to help unlock the potential they have in themselves? You seeing something that holds people back a lot?
So I see for younger people more and more, one of the things they really face and deal with these days, like pressure, like peer pressure, and having this FOMO, fear of missing out. Like they're everywhere and want everything, right? So that is something that can really distract their focus. So I think this is something we need to remind them. You can have everything. Just be mindful of where you put your energy and focus, because you only have certain level of energy. So if you really want to be great at something, you really need to pour that energy into mastering this, right? And also this habit that we all have, I think it's not only the young people, but I do see it's more with the young people. Always this comparison, like peer pressure, right? Comparing everything, and also social media is also part of the reasons why. So just focus and on being on your own lane. Compare yourself with yourself, where you were like 1 month ago, yesterday, 6 months ago, 12, and then you will see, wow, my progress. Track your own progress. And I think this is something I also try to remind them. Your progress, collect your experiences, your mistakes, and your success stories, and write your own story. And then you look back and you see, wow, I'm really proud of myself, because every time I take on a challenge and I make a decision, doesn't matter if it's a good decision or bad decision, but you learn something from that. And write your own story. You can even write a book about yourself, right? So I think this is a motivator for them to like, okay, I can rewrite it also. Yeah. But the habit of comparing yourself with others is also a thing that makes them feel not good enough very often. Yeah.
Do you have any tips on how someone can learn to focus better, to be more intentional in what they're trying to learn and do?
So if you set a goal, you look at people around you or influences or authors who inspire you the most. What about them inspire you? Is it their skills, their knowledge, the way they influence people, or what exactly is it? And is that something? Maybe that's something that is calling you to try. And then if you think that's the way for you to go, then start to make a plan. How do I get there? And then work backwards. So, okay, in order for me to get there, I really need to be really good with people. And then I need to really master the selling skills, right? And then I think earlier today, you inspired me a lot by just, teaching or training your team to be comfortable with learning new skills, constantly getting, expanded their comfort zones. And I think that is a very, very, very important skill to have. Because once you're so familiar, it's like every time you do that, David, you train their muscle, right? So their courage muscle. So a lot of people now, when this is something new, I might fail at it, and then they try to avoid it. But if actually they're familiar with, I'm just used to familiar with uncertainty all the time, so their muscle gets really,
resilient.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. That's really important. What are you intentionally learning right now?
So I just told you that the DISC certification is something, and it's actually combined with emotional intelligence. So this is also something I'm looking into. And Daniel Goleman, I'm reading his book, and it's really, really interesting to learn about. Yeah, so I love to read, and I love to expand also, because when I work with clients, I need to constantly add value So for me, that is a motivator for me to enhance my skills and get more knowledge.
Well, for sure. I think that's one of the things maybe John Maxwell says is you can't give what you don't have, right? If you don't know it yourself, how can you teach it to somebody? And so for leadership, that's incredibly important. Now I want to talk about something in your book that was a big takeaway for me. And now let's talk about the concept of the red book and the black book.
Yeah. Oh, I think I just shortly mentioned about, the journaling. Yeah. So, this is definitely not something I invented. I learned it from someone or from reading a book, but now I can't remember. But the whole point of doing this is, again, because I'm not the most competitive person, but I'm a little bit obsessed with my own progress. So that's why I'm doing this journaling. So I'm always like adding, what am I learning? What am I doing well? How am I adding value to other people? How am I a worthy, valuable person? So in the red book, that's where I put all of the good things, right? Good achievements, positive progress. And even when I use it for performance management of my former team members, employees, I also use that because my memory is not the strongest memory. So I use notebooks a lot to make sure I actually capture and I record, and I'm being a fair manager because there's both the good and the bad, not only complaints or criticism, right? So I use that also to make sure that they actually get the best performance and most objective and fair feedback. So that in the red book, and then in the black book, of course, we have the the less great achievements. So, but those are valuable lessons for me, and I use them also to see: am I failing enough? Am I learning enough? If I'm not making mistakes, I'm not expanding my comfort zone, maybe there would be nothing in here. Then I'm too comfortable, too much inside of my comfort zone. But if I'm making mistakes, I'm learning something, even though I feel, I'm a failure. But if it shows, if that a proof that, I am trying new things, I am growing, I am learning, and those are again reflection moments where I turn those into sharing that with team members as well. Look, I'm not just asking all of you how you have failed and learned valuable lessons. I'm also doing it. And here are the proof, right? That I also have things I fail at, I'm not so great at the first time, but I become better. So that's basically the point with...
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, the reds for the wins and the blacks for the losses. And after a while, I think probably your win book starts getting bigger and your loss book gets a little shorter, right? In a sense.
Yeah. It should be, right? Because once you start to do something, you can see, the ones in the black book are like more challenging things, right? And it's like the quote, every time you move on, or every time you level up, there will be bigger challenges, bigger fears, bigger failures, but more important and valuable experiences that can turn into more successes.
Are you listing out really your feelings in that book, or are you just talking about specific things? Like, I did this with Jerry and it turned out bad, or you're writing your feelings in there?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but I think women tend to write more with feelings, right? Yeah. So it's always for me, I'm a quite emotional person, so I'm always like either very excited or very disappointed about myself. Yeah.
I think that's kind of normal. Very much everyone
Okay.
is. So what is it that you actually do for a company? Give me an example of somebody that just hired you for a project.
I work with very successful companies. Every now and then they set bigger goals, bigger visions. And then they want to know, okay, we've been now here doing this for 20 years. We want to know how we can really get to the next level and have everybody with us. everyone aligned on the same page. So I come in as an external consultant, a coach, trainer. I listen to them. So for example, I just sat down with 30 plus managers and leaders on different levels, just listening to what they appreciate and value about the company, so those strengths, and then also what they really wish could be different or better, their suggestions. So that I analyze. So it's like a survey, right? A little bit expanded survey, and I understand, okay, so who are these managers? What makes this company successful? And how can we become more successful and achieve our bigger ambitions? Then I put together this survey and then present it to the board of directors, then come with a recommendation, what I propose that we could do in terms of trainings and workshops. Sometimes it's like team building, and then other time it could be more specific, related to communicating their visions and missions, have a look at the company values again. Maybe this time we get more people on board so they fully understand what the values mean. Sometimes we need to replace some of them if we want to get to a different place. And really get their buy-in and really have everyone worked on those, so it becomes, okay, this is our new company culture. This is the behaviors we now want to promote. So really getting like everyone really on board, super motivated and inspired and really aligned, and then carry out the mission together. So, and of course, together with the team and everyone, also propose what I think, it seems like you need a little bit more, focus, enhance the communication skills. It may be in this department and that department, everybody. Active listening skill is a big one for many of the clients. Yeah. So
that's awesome. I know that you provide a lot of value to people. When my research, I read your book and I did some research and I checked on you. I called some people and asked, and they both gave me the feedback that you provide a lot of value. And I know that you're busy because I had to reschedule like 3 times for you to come in, right? So
sorry about that.
Now this last time you got called to Europe to do a speaking engagement. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, that was my first time. A client booked me to come to Europe and do this workshop for their key account managers. And because I did the same, they wanted one global mindset, one global calm DNA. So I customized this program, and I conducted the workshop in Vietnam and then flew to Europe to do it for the teams in Europe.
Oh, that's great.
Content the same, but of course with a little bit of adjustment depending on, of course, culture, right? So that's it.
That's awesome. Now, in the way of getting a hold of you, I'll put that's in the show notes, but where can someone find more info about you?
As you mentioned in the beginning, people may have seen me on LinkedIn, so that's where I am most of the time, and then I use also Facebook. LinkedIn and Facebook,
all right.
Mostly.
You have a website also.
I have a website.
Yes, I'll put that in the show notes also. All right, I really appreciate you taking your time to be here.
No, I appreciate you.
No problem, no problem.
Thank you, David.
I hope that we had something that can help unlock someone's potential and they have in themselves. So I really appreciate that.
That would be the best.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today on Unlock Potential with David Archibald. Remember, leadership isn't about power. It's about unlocking the potential in yourself and those around you. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode, and share this podcast with someone who could benefit from its insights today. Also, check the show notes. I'll make a link to Juan's book, Powerful Leadership, How to Build Dream Teams. You want to grab a copy of that for sure. And this book is a game changer for leaders at any level. And until the next time, keep pushing forward and unlock the potential around you.